Okay, first of all, I would like to thank the organizers very much for inviting me to present this lecture. My name is Jana Wertz, as it's already been said. I am a PhD student at the Limes and Legion project at the University of Bonn, but I'm doing my PhD at the Ludwigs-Maximilians-Universität in Munich. The subject is the late antique cemetery of the legionary camp in Bonn in the Ermentrudestraße. Today, I have the great pleasure to present it with a special find of one of the graves. The processing and interpretation of the piece was a collaboration between Susanne Domke, Petra Lindscheid, and myself. Okay, I will just add my pointer. Okay, Bonn is located on the northwest of the Roman Empire, directly on the Limes. It lies at the extreme south point of the Lower Rhine and is ideally situated to monitor the Sieg, which is right over there. It's an inflow from the right side of the Rhine. So here you can nicely monitor the whole right side of the Rhineland. And it's quite close to the capital city of Cologne, further to the north. The legionary camp was founded by the Legio I in the Claudian period at the latest. After the Batavian revolt, the 21st Legion expanded the camp in stone, after which Legio I Minervia became the house legion and remained there until at least 295 AD. A fragmentary picture emerges in the late antiquity. Christoph Lindner, my colleague in the Limes and Legion project, is working intensively on the late phase of the site. So far, he has not been able to assign any of the archaeological remains to the late antique period, but let's hope that he will do soon. In the last written record, Ammianus Marcellinus states that Caesar Julian occupied Bonn in the year 395 AD in preparation for a military campaign. So at least to this time, there has to be a camp or some part of the camp's been working. The cemetery is located outside the walls, as you can see here. It's on the outward from the Porta Decumana. Overall, the cemetery was much larger, but it's only a partial section due to the excavation. So this is what you can see here in those pinkish style is the excavation I'm working on right now. But the burial site expanded really largely, like over this whole area. And only a few parts of it were excavated right now. The excavation took place in 1999 in an area of 1,900 square meters. The burial ground is bordered to the north by a ditch, which you can see here quite good. What is striking is the lack of orientation, which cannot be explained at present. So if you have a closer look, you can see here that there is somehow something like a northeast, southwest orientation, but further to the south, the orientation gets totally lost. Numerous graves overlap, which you can see, for example, in this area quite nicely. And there are no grave markers to be recovered. The main concentration of the cemetery is in the second half of the 3rd or the first half of the 4th century AD, which you can see here quite good. And don't worry, there is a quite much better plan being in production right now. Those are the plans from the small publication Michael Gechter did in the year 2000. Okay, in total, I have 11 cremations, 12 tile bricks or sarcophagus graves, 2 animal burials, which is a dog and a horse, 18 pits or deposit, which belong to the grave somehow, and then 11 niches, which is a typical Rhineland thingy where you put some of the offerings inside. And I have the most of it, which is not wondering, 280 inhumation graves. Talking about age and sex, I have in total 104 male individuals, 59 female individuals, and 79, sorry, I'm always mixing up the numbers, individuals with where the sex cannot be estimated. And when I blend in the age, you can see really nicely why this is the case, because there are a lot of neonates and infants and also some juvenile individuals, which explain why there are so many individuals without any sex. There are still a higher number of male individuals, but this is not wondering, as of course the legion is quite close, and this is for sure a part of the cemetery where the legionary people were buried. But what is really interesting is that a lot of people died also in a quite young age in the adult status. So most of the people die around the age of 25. Okay, after this long introduction, let's finally talk about the burial 85, where the ivory object was found. The rectangular grave, measuring approximately 189 to 51 centimeters, is located in a densely occupied area of the cemetery. The person buried here was laid down in extended supine position and was orientated southwest-northeast. Other grave goods include a glass needle and a miniature dolphin-handled ivory ballos, which you can see here a little bit better. And also there was a round glass object, and now I have to go back, which you can see here quite nicely. It could not have been preserved, so that's the only reason, because of the drawing, I know that there is this object. And there's also a finger ring with a narrow undecorated hoop from the form of RIA 3.2.35. So the question is, who was the person? And as I have the luck, or maybe not the luck, to have two anthropologists, I of course got two opinions. Person A says that it should be a young adult and a male individual, while person B says that this should be a really old, or for that time, a really old female with the age of death at around 60 years. And sometimes in those ages around 60 to 70 years, there's a masculinization of the bones happening. That's why some females are attributed to be a male person. And as this grave is really interesting, we decided to do amylogenin analysis, and the result is that the anthropologist B was right. It's a female around 60 years. Okay, let's finally talk about the object. After the object was recovered en bloc, it was taken to the restoration workshops of the Landschaftsverband Rhineland, where the elaborately restored and conserved. Okay, I hope I said it correctly. The object, here you can see it after the restoration, measures around 12 to 7 centimeters and is 4.5 centimeters high. It weighs 101 gram. The object is made from a section of an elephant tusk, cut in half lengthways or part of it. By bisecting the tusk, this is what you can see here, the flat cut surface is contrasted with the curved one. So if you cut it a piece like that, like this, you have, of course, two bi-cylindrical objects. Jan Decher was able, he's from the Museum of König, from the Museum König in Bonn, and I have to thank him very much. He was able to identify the animal without any doubt as an elephant. We plan to do an ADNA analysis to find out whether it's an Indian or an African individual, so we can reconstruct something like the importation route or something like that. The long side of the objects run slightly conical towards each other in accordance to the anatomy of the tusk, which you can see here. This side is a little bit longer than this side. This is why the base of the object appears to be an irregular square. So yeah, the form has to be something like this bin in Roman times. During the manufacturing process, up to 6 approximately 2 centimeter deep holes with a diameter of approximately 1 centimeter were drilled out in a double T arrangement, which were joined together in pairs to form oblong holes using a material removing technique. So this is what you can see here. We think that we have to double those holes also over there to have a symmetrical object. And here you can see the holes which were drilled in. The right-hand depression, in addition, there are 2 central hemispherical depressions, which are approximately 2 centimeters deep, those bigger ones here. The right-hand depression measures about 3.7 centimeters in diameter, this one, while the left-hand depression is larger at approximately 4.5 centimeters in diameter, this one. The 2 central indentations or depressions were turned out of the material. Those were drilled in, those were turned out. A circular score on the edge of the left-hand recess shows its previously planned position in the workpiece. That is what you can see here. Hopefully, it's not that well preserved. While the right-hand indentation has a material residue at its deepest point, which is typical for turning here. The left-hand depression has a drilled hole. I did it the wrong way around. So this one has a hole at the deepest point, and this one has a material residue. The shape of the drilled hole with the grooves running around the inside indicates the traces of the turning mold. This is what you can see here a little bit, and here hopefully quite better. It is not clear why the central depressions have such different shape at their deepest point. Here you can see a turning mold. Two copper alloy hinges, which you can see here, are attached on one of the long sides of the object, indicating that it was originally a 2-part box. The hinges are not symmetrically centered, but shifted to the left, which you can hopefully see here quite good. However, a break in the material next to the right hinge here suggested that it was originally attached further to the right, which could have created a symmetrical center. So if you imagine those hinge further to the right, it's quite symmetrically again. The X-ray image shows the material breakout very clearly. Here you can see it again. The differently shaped hinges also speak in favor for a later repair on the object. As the hinge lunge points in different directions, it can be assumed that the second part of the object was no longer attached to the present object at the time of a burial. So if you imagine you have the hinges like this there cannot be an object put it on, or at least it has to be broken. A small remnant of a coarse weave in Panama binding has survived on the right hinge due to corrosion. This type of fabric is made from a coarse plain weave with double threads in the wrap and weft. The fabric lies on the unfolded inside of the right hinge and is not detectable on the folded left hinge. Shrouds or blankets in Panama weave are known from Roman burials in Gaul and Israel. This type of fabric has only been found once in the Rhineland yet. So what we know and what we don't know at the moment. We have an object here which is made from ivory from an elephant. The turning mass were not completely removed. There are some antique repairs, which I was talking about in the last minutes about, and it was probably laid down in the grave already broken. And we have those offerings where the miniature Ivory fits to the deepest depression, but the needle you could see does not fit inside at any point. We were also thinking about an inkwell box, which could have been put inside, but there is the great difficulty that the height is too high to close the casket. For a long time, we wondered what exactly it was. A casket was relatively quickly assumed, but is it a lid or a base? And what is the meaning behind it? And one evening, my colleague Uta Schröder called me and showed me this picture. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is the missing part. Now we can understand what our object is actually. We have a small casket, also made of ivory in the shape of a bird from Le Pousseur in present-day France. If the outer appearance is not quite convincing at first, the inside of the box is. Not only are there the same hemispherical large cutouts, but also the T-shaped ones, albeit in a slightly different arrangement, which is due to the anatomy of the object. But the recess and the raised parts are also present, which of course raises the question of the function. According to the excavator and analyzer of the casket from Le Pousseur, the casket can be either interpreted in the direction of ring production. The bar thingy, so this one, would have functioned as a kind of a ring size measure, and the remaining cutouts would have been used to store the rings. Or, and this is the interpretation we prefer, it can be placed in the context of cosmetics, especially in the makeup section. The large depressions would have been used to hold a paste. The T-shaped depressions would have contained various pigments. The bar thingy could have been used to wipe off the spatula or needle, so that superfluous material could be used the next time. However, our interpretation cannot be scientifically proven due to the state of preservation. Further evidence in favor of this hypothesis is provided by other additions, by the other offerings of the needle and the miniature dolphin-handled arubaloy, which can also be placed in the context of cosmetics. So the needle doesn't have to be a hairpin. You can also use it for doing your makeup, for example. And the small arubaloy, there could have been, yeah, some really expensive whatever. And although the casket from Le Pousseur is dated to the 1st to the 3rd century AD, a later dating of the piece in Bonn is entirely convincible due to its preservation. And what we also got is another example also from France in Conches. This is a theater shape box. It it's looking quite different, of course, but we think that the idea is the same. As we have here, this thingy to wipe off your spatula or your needle. And here, the interesting thing is that you can put a needle also inside there, as there is a hole inside. And maybe this was also the case in the casket from Bonn, but on the lid. So the part which is not preserved anymore. Anyway, I'm right now at the end, and I want to thank you for your attention. And if you have any comparable things or object that somehow is looking like that, I would be very, very happy to have a look on it, because we are looking for other objects, and right now we only have some examples from France, and it would be great to have some more. Yeah, thank you.